Welcome this evening to your new moon yin practice. I'm Laura, and I'm very excited to be facilitating the practice for you tonight. Thanks so much if you're joining me live. And if you're watching the replay, thanks so much. I'm really, like I said, grateful to be here this evening. So new moons are a time of planting seeds for new beginnings. And that's exactly why I wanted to run this class. I'd like you to make sure that you have some props with you, and they don't necessarily have to be traditional yoga props. So we'll use yoga blocks, and if you don't have yoga blocks, you could also use books, just something somewhat hard that you could stack on top of each other so that you have those as a support. If you have blankets, blankets can be very helpful in order to support our sits bones or support our knees. Those could be helpful for you as well during the practice. And then a bolster. And if you don't have a bolster at home, that's okay. There's lots of different types of bolsters and sizes of bolsters. You could use pillows. You could use several, couch cushion pillows, pillows from your bed. Just use whatever you have at home. So if you're watching this on the replay and you want to pause, please go ahead, pause, and you can then come back to this when you're ready. So I will ask you to just find a comfy spot, and whether you prefer to sit or recline is completely up to you. And as you do that, I'll ask you to get comfy and close your eyes, please. And as you close your eyes, I'll ask that you just slowly begin to find your breath. And by find your breath, I mean just notice. Notice how the breath is moving inside of your body this evening. The beauty of this virtual practice is that you're at home, you're in your own sacred space, surrounded by your own energy. And we take these first few minutes to become grounded in ourselves. So regardless of the type of day that you had today, this becomes an opportunity to let go. And so I'd like us to begin by taking a few cleansing breaths, just inhaling through our nose and exhaling with a sigh. And we'll do that 3 times, 4 times, whatever feels good for you. And that exhale really becomes that opportunity to let go of any tension that we've been holding, consciously or unconsciously. And begin to let the body know that it's okay to relax. It's okay to surrender into the moment, that you're safe. We're constantly operating under this fight or flight, this stress type response. And when we begin to bring our awareness to our breath, still our bodies and our minds, we can then begin to stimulate our parasympathetic nervous system, which brings us into that rest and digest state, that space where our bodies have the ability to heal. And so I'll ask you to notice if there are any thoughts present in your mind right now, and give yourself permission to let them go. You can almost imagine them as the mind as the sky and the thoughts as these clouds on the horizon of the sky, just floating by. No need to attach to them. Just coming back to that big, vast, blue, clear sky. The peace within ourselves that we find some moments And more as we begin to find the practices that serve us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And I'll ask you to begin to deepen that breath in your body now. Begin to slowly inhale, filling the body a little bit fuller of breath, maybe down towards your pelvic floor or your belly, just feeling that inflate like a balloon. And then with that exhale, just softening your body, letting that breath slowly move out through the nose, feeling it over the upper lip. And let each breath slowly and gently invite a little bit more relaxation into your bodies tonight. We really begin to let that physical body surrender. So whether you've chosen to be seated tonight, crown of the head lengthening to the sky and the shoulders relax down, or whether you've chosen to recline as your beginning posture, just give yourself permission to release, to surrender, knowing that you've set aside this time for you and for your practice. This self-care is an act of self-love. So thank yourself for showing up tonight to your mat. And maybe you begin to notice the breath become a little smoother, a little deeper in your body. Notice if you're trying to force. This can often happen. We want the breath to move deeper inside of us, so we begin to try to use force. And that's completely counterintuitive to the practice. The practice is really about softening. So as we soften our bodies, the breath can move in deeper. We'll check in to notice how we're feeling emotionally this evening. Notice what emotions have been present for you, maybe today or in this moment. And just acknowledging them gives us the space to begin to process and let go. And it's really not about whether or not you like that emotion or you deem that emotion good or bad. It's not about labeling or judging. It's really about giving ourselves space to notice, because our emotions are ways that our body communicates with us. They're these chemical responses to external reactions. And when we begin to understand that our emotions are there, that they are there to give us messages, we can then tune into them, acknowledge them, and allow them to pass. And so we'll take a few more nice, slow, deep breaths, sending the breath into any areas of our body that maybe require a little bit of extra attention this evening. If there have been any areas of your body that have been tight or tense, send some breath there. A little bit of TLC with that prana, that life force energy. And then I'd like you to bring your awareness into your third eye. So it's that point in between your eyebrows, that seat of our intuition. And then I'd like you to take a breath into the heart space. connecting the third eye with the heart. As tonight on this new moon, we work to plant a seed of intention for the next 28 days that'll manifest over this moon cycle. And remembering that a tiny seed can grow into a mighty tree. It really is about the nurturing that we provide for it. So I encourage you to set a seed of intention for something in your life for which you wish to manifest. And whether it's this moon or several moons, keep coming back to it so that you can water it and nurture it and allow it to grow. And then I invite you to just feel the vibrations of the bowl for a moment. As you've planted that seed of intention, allowing the bowl and its vibrations to move that intention into every cell of your bodies. So take a moment just to notice how you're feeling, noticing any shifts or changes in your energy, just the first few minutes together on the mat this evening. And then keeping your eyes closed, I invite you to begin to slowly and gently find some movement in your bodies. And so if you are reclined, you're going to stay reclined and just maybe gently take your head from side to side. You might wish to take those arms and extend them long. Reaching them in behind you, maybe pressing your feet forward. And if you're seated, maybe you're slowly rolling the head from side to side. Okay, wherever you are, I don't want you to make any sudden movements. Just want you to notice how the body's feeling as you begin to reawaken. If you're reclined, you might wish to take the soles of the feet to the floor, bending the knees, and then windshield wipering the legs, slowly back and forth. Just nice and gentle. In order to begin to wake up a little bit along the outside of the legs and into the hips. And if you're seated, maybe you're rolling your shoulders back. Okay, these first few moments, just really an opportunity to begin to move our bodies and notice our starting point. So if you are reclined, I'll ask you to slowly and gently maybe roll over onto one side, use your bottom arm as a pillow, and then gradually help yourself up to a seat, taking your time. And if you do have a blanket nearby, you might wish something to prop yourself up. So when we come to a seat, it's best to see if we can elevate our hips above our knees, and that's where a blanket comes in really nice. We can almost perch ourselves on the edge of the fold so that we can facilitate that opening in through our hips. And as you arrive there, get those sits bones comfy. So kind of get your bum comfy. Maybe shifting from side to side a few times. And then begin to lengthen the crown of your head toward the sky. You'll engage your tummy just a little bit and let your shoulders just glide gently down and back, maybe lifting them up to your ears a couple times and rolling them back down. We hold a lot of tension here in our head and neck. And when we're tight in the head, neck, and the shoulders, I tend to find that it reverberates down into the arms and even into the hands. And I invite you to keep your eyes closed if you're comfortable with that. Keeping your eyes closed really helps to shut out all that visual stimulation that we're constantly bombarded with, so that you can just feel into your body as you move. And we'll begin a little bit more movement by taking our hands onto our hips, fingertips in front, thumbs in the back. And let's keep our sits bones on the earth, and we'll begin to gently circle. So choosing one direction initially, and allowing your circles to start small, perhaps. And if you find that the body begins to invite you a little deeper, then let those circles grow. We'll do a couple more in this direction, just feeling and exploring that shift of the weight from side to side. Noticing into the side waist as you lean over and come around. And as we come back to center, let's press gently the flesh down on our legs and lift up the crown of our heads toward the sky. Keep that gentle engagement in your tummy, and then go ahead and find those circles in the other direction, please. And so we notice, how does it feel to move in this direction? One more. Beautiful. We come to sit once again, and I'll ask you to cross the opposite shin in front, perhaps. So the opposite shin is crossed in front, and we'll go ahead and we'll begin to grab onto our front shin, and we'll inhale and lengthen our hearts forward, a little bit of extension in the spine. And as we exhale, we'll pull our bellies back and slowly round inward. So as we inhale, we lift and lengthen. And as we exhale, we slowly come forward. And just forward and back gently. Feeling that tilt of your pelvis. So as you come forward, the heart opens and the pelvis tilts forward. And as we come back, we pull the belly button in, round from the low spine, and curl inward. Just a couple more times, beginning to wake up those energy centers along the spine, particularly down at the root. Those first three energetic centers hold all of kind of our heavy energies, our earthly and physical plane energies. So we want to get those moving. Beautiful. So as you're ready, we're going to go ahead and let's drop your right arm down by your right side. Lift your arm, left arm to the sky. Begin to walk your fingertips away and lean over. And we're going to flow back and forth. So as we inhale, the opposite arm rises. Walk the fingertips away and reach over. Just very gently back and forth, getting longer out of the side waist each time you rise to the center, and then continuing to reach through the fingertips to find a little more length in the sides of your waist. Good. So finding space in the sides of our body help us to create space in our low spine. And for many of us, we're sitting so often, causing all this compression in the lumbar spine. So these side movements, very, very important for regaining that space and that mobility. As you come over to the side next, you can hold here. You can press down into the arm on the earth. You always have the option to stack up with a block if you need to. You can also bend the elbow, take the hand to the back of the head, take the arm And move that elbow back and spiral the heart to the sky. And I'll invite you to take a few breaths here if that's okay for your body. The yin practice is a gentle practice. And whenever we come to our mats, it's really important to acknowledge where we're at today. So there should never be anything shooting, stabbing, or electrical type sensation coming up for you. If you do feel that at any point during the practice, it means that a posture is not agreeable for your body. We'll take 2 more breaths. In that case, you'd want to come out of the posture. Last one. Just keep spiraling that heart to the sky. Good, and as we inhale next, we'll come up and we'll switch over to the other side. Reaching long, bending the elbow, hand comes to the back of the head gently. Press down into the lower arm, lift up through the heart space. But discomfort is likely. So as long as we can acknowledge the difference between discomfort and that kind of shooting, stabbing, electrical pain, then we can listen to ourselves during the practice and slowly and gently begin to release those energetic knots that bind our bodies. We'll take a few more breaths here. Just really seeing if you can fill that side waist. Feel the ribs expand toward the side of the room. Feel that breath move into the chest and the front and the back of your body. And we'll take one more inhale breath. And one more exhale breath. Beautiful. And we'll slowly inhale ourselves back to the center. And I'm going to ask you to please pause. And pause here just for a moment to tune your awareness in and notice how you're feeling. And we'll do this frequently over the duration of our time together, just to notice the effects of the postures on our body. The beauty of yoga is that it really cultivates that present moment awareness and the space for us to acknowledge what's going on. And so in order to do that, we need to stop. We need to pause. We'll take maybe one more breath here, please. Beautiful. So as you feel ready, we're going to take our time and we're going to extend our legs in toward kind of a V shape right now. And if you have blocks or a bolster, you'll want to bring them to the side of the body. Now, if you have those yoga blocks, you have a flat level, you have a mid-level, and then you have the highest level. And what we'll do is we'll take, likely for most of us, either the middle or the highest level, or you stack, several books up, so that you can then begin to just gradually take your elbow onto the block. Your fingertips can come to your temple, and you're going to go ahead and for a couple more breaths, you're going to reach that arm overhead, over to the side of the room. We'll take about 3 more breaths here before we begin to add on a little bit tonight. So yin really is about going inside. And there's no better pose for going inside than some forward folding. So as you inhale, we'll come back up. If you have 2 blocks, you can place them on either side of your first leg. If you're using bolsters or cushions, you can do the same thing. And what we're going to do now is we're going to shift toward our first leg, the extended leg, and you're going to lift your arms to the sky. Get nice and long, root your sits bones down so they're grounded into the earth. And as you exhale, you're going to take your chest towards your shin as you reach your arms forward. And it doesn't have to be a big movement. This is really about exploring, finding a little length, and then hinging from the hips, from the waist, and reaching forward. We're going to take 2 more breaths. Last one. Now, if you would prefer to keep moving, if you find your body is really tight and you need to keep moving, I want you to keep coming up and down. If you'd prefer to come in more yin style, then you're going to go ahead and rest your forearms on those blocks, any height that works for you. You're going to begin to soften into the legs. And that doesn't mean that there won't be some muscular engagement kind of firing up the back of your legs, because this is where we're likely targeting right now in your bodies. But try to remain soft. And we use the inhale to get a little more length. And then we use the exhale to invite us to move forward perhaps a little more. And I want you to check, can I soften my arms? Can I let my head and neck relax? Can I use the inhale to take the crown of my head and bring it a tiny bit closer to my toes? Can I use the exhale to soften down a little further, maybe feeling some compression in the side of the waist, side of the body, into the colon? And in the yin practice, we hold a little bit longer than we do in many other forms of yoga practice, because we're targeting deep fascial tissue. And that deep fascial or connective tissue is the tissue that holds those emotions, that energy that's unprocessed and stored in our bodies, and that really binds us and inhibits movement. So as we find our different edges, those are the points of sensation, we breathe into them. And we do our best to remain still if that's possible. And we take our breath and we direct it exactly where we are feeling this in our bodies tonight. And if the mind begins to wander, you can always come to mantra. So repeating something very simple, such as inhale on your inhale breath and exhale on your exhale breath, can be really effective in keeping the mind present. And with the mantra and the awareness of the sensation, you'll find less and less thought comes in. I'm going to take about 3 more breaths here, please. Last one. Let yourself soften just that last centimeter or 2. And then as you feel ready, engage through your core and slowly and gently, maybe keep the eyes closed if you can, begin to come back up. So stacking the vertebra one on top of the other, coming up to your seat once more. And then taking a moment to notice. How do the right and left sides of my body feel? Feel into the back of your legs, sides of your waist. And if it feels good, you could always point and flex the toes a few times. Roll the ankles as we prepare to move to the other side. So you'll take your block once again, place it directly beside the opposite hip. You're going to go ahead now and find whichever height works for you as you bring the elbow to the block and the fingertips to the temple. When you find yourself ready, that opposite arm raises and slowly moves overhead to find a little bit of length and a little bit of space, continuing into the side waist. See if you can let the arm be heavy for a few more breaths. Breathing all the way down the side of the body into the hip, the waist, all the way up the ribs, the armpit. And we'll take maybe one more breath here, please. Beautiful. When you're ready, engage through the core. Slowly help yourself back up. Come to find that other prop. So whether you're using blocks, whether you're using books or cushions, whatever it is, stacking them on either side of that extended leg now. You're going to spin your hips gently toward that extended leg. Inhale the arms up to the sky. And as you exhale, I want you to just gently glide forward. You're going to inhale and lift. And you're going to exhale. Slowly come forward. Reach and lengthen. Exhale and glide down. And remember, if you're really tight, this doesn't feel like you can hold any kind of position, that's okay, keep moving. And if you feel like you can soften in for the yin portion of the pose, go right ahead, find your length. Surrender your arms down to whatever heights of the block work for you. I like to flip my palms up and draw my elbows in a little bit toward my shoulders, just to make sure that my upper body is soft. And then we begin to breathe and focus that breath to the sensation in our bodies. Nice, gentle, lengthened breaths, directing to exactly where we need it today. Some nice slow inhales, nice slow exhales. Again, if your mind begins to come online, just reset with the breath. The breath is this beautiful tool that we have with us every moment of every day. An opportunity to reset, realign, and reconnect. Takes only one breath. Notice if you can soften a little more through the face, the throat, and the jaw. Notice if the shoulders can relax a little more. Notice if perhaps you need to remove some of the props because now you can go a little deeper. Okay, and it's not about forcing ourselves. Again, it's the opposite. It's about surrender and then allowing whatever is going to present itself, acknowledge it, and then maybe you move in. Let's take about 3 more breaths here, just as we are. Inhale, find the length. And exhale, find that softness. Let's take that final breath here, please. As you finish off that exhale, just engage through the abdominals and very slowly begin to walk your hands back up until you begin to stack the vertebra, turn back to center, and just pause for a moment. So forward folding, very calming to the subtle energies of our bodies. So notice how you're feeling. You may find that it's pretty tender in those extended legs. And so now I invite you, when you're ready, just to slowly take and support kind of beneath the thigh and the knee. Bend the knees. You can move the props off to the side for a moment, and maybe you wish to plant your hands in behind you. And as you plant your hands in behind you, fingertips toward you or away, you can begin to slowly just take those knees from side to side. And I like to keep my feet nice and wide because then I know I'm getting into the IT bands, the outside band that runs along the length of the leg all the way down just actually to below the knee. It's this dense band of connective tissue that's really difficult to maintain elasticity, and it often gets pretty tight. And maybe you'll hold to one side or you'll keep moving for another couple of moments. Good. Beautiful. As you're ready, I'd like you to go ahead and take your time to come onto your hands and knees for a few moments. So it can be really nice to have a prop like your blanket for some support when you're on your knees. I also have these yoga jellies that sometimes I put underneath my knees. My floor is pretty hard here in my room. So we'll come into tabletop, and tabletop pose essentially is spreading our fingers as wide as we possibly can on the mat, pressing down through the palms and the finger pads, so rooting down, taking our knees hip width apart, and stacking our hips above them. And from here, I'd like you to go ahead and just gently press your hips from side to side. And as you press your hips from side to side, likely you're going to feel that in the outer hip. And our hips tend to be very tight for many of us. We store a lot of anger and frustration in our hips. So notice as you move what comes up. Some of us will take our hips a little bit lower toward the earth. Some of us, it'll be a little bit of a smaller movement, and that's okay. This is, again, about your body, wherever you are tonight. Good, and then we'll begin to slowly work into some cat-cows. So press the tops of your feet into the earth. Engage a little bit through your core. Press down through your hands, and as you inhale, let the tail drop. And gently lengthen the heart space forward as you take your gaze up. And then as you exhale, gently draw the navel in and slowly round one vertebra at a time until your gaze comes back and that spot between your shoulder blades presses toward the sky. And we use our inhales to grow more spacious in the front of the body in your cow. And we use our exhales to grow more spacious in the back of our body with your cat. And we'll take a few more movements here. Just back and forth. And if you feel like you want to add anything extra, go right ahead. So organic movement here can be really nice as well. Organically flowing through the cat and through the cow, using your breath at your own pace. And remember, we're going to be different day to day, week to week, month to month. So it's really just about being and meeting ourselves where we're at today. Beautiful. As you're ready, we're going to press back into our first child's pose tonight. So we're sinking the sits bones back. This could be a really beautiful opportunity to grab your cushion if you have one, or your bolster, and begin to snuggle yourself down, drawing the bolster into your body and coming down in a little bit more of kind of a supported child's pose, taking the chin down or turning your head to the side. And just taking a few breaths there. So you can use the cushion or you can come straight down to the mat as well if you like, either extending the arms forward or walking the fingertips in behind. And I'll ask you here to take a few nice, slow, deep breaths. This is a beautiful check-in pose, a beautiful opportunity to notice. Beautiful opportunity to notice how you're feeling, what's going on with your body this evening. We'll take about 3 more breaths, please, just as you are, finishing up that child pose. Beautiful. When you're ready, let's walk our hands in toward ourselves, and we're going to come into, I'm going to give you an option here, either into a supported pigeon or into a 90-90. So if you have a little bit more flexibility in your hips, you'll come into the pigeon pose. But for most of us, we'll start at least in the 90-90. So we're going to take our, your front shin forward. So maybe starting with that left shin forward. And the easier part for your body is to tuck the heels in towards your body. So whichever leg is forward, the hip and the knee are in alignment. And then you're drawing the ankle in towards your body, or if you have a little bit more mobility here, you're taking the ankle away from the body and you're aligning it with the front knee or somewhere in between. Okay? The back leg, same thing. Hip and knee are in alignment. And then option, keeping the back heel in towards your body or extending that leg long. Taking that knee and ankle in alignment or some variation in between, okay? And then we come to perhaps find our supports. So whether you're using pillows or blocks or blankets, those can all come in front of you. We're going to take our hands to the side or onto your props, and you're going to spin yourself towards your front leg. And we're going to begin to inhale and lengthen our crown to the sky. So top of the head to the sky, long in the spine. And then as we exhale, we're going to bow forward. And we're going to come up and down a few times. Now, those of you who have the ability to go a little deeper, it would involve sliding that back leg straight, coming over onto that front hip, and then finding the same movement with the back leg long. Okay, and this really isn't, there's no right way to do it. It's really about making sure that that front hip is supported on something and that you can eventually find some ease in whatever pose you choose. And this is where having these cushions nearby can be really helpful. You have your cushions or your blocks and you can soften down onto them. And you can find your breath and close your eyes and breathe into the sensation in your body. Now, as with the other poses, if you are very tight in your body and you're not able to find any sort of gentle kind of ease in and relaxation, and the sensation is very, very strong, then go ahead and keep moving, coming up and down. That's okay too. And we find the breath, and we follow the breath in our bodies, and we send the breath to those areas of our bodies where we find the sensation, those areas that are speaking to us. For some of us, it'll be in a whisper. And for many of us, those areas will scream. And it's really important to be present with that level of sensation that you're feeling in your body. To not push through the scream, maybe to ease out of it a little bit so it's not so intense. Because the yin posture is a posture of surrender. A posture of allowing ourselves to find space gradually. Completely counterintuitive to push through it like we see in so many variations of exercise and just living in today's kind of busy society. If you find that you don't need your props anymore, you can always take them to the side for the last few breaths. Just inhaling and exhaling. Still getting long with your inhales and softening down with your exhales. I'll invite you to take 2 more breaths into your body. And when you're ready, just slowly engage through your core once again. Walk your fingertips back up your body, back in towards your body, and just slowly and gently, perhaps bring that back leg forward. And you can extend the legs if you like. Take your hands in behind you. Just pause for a moment. Might feel good to take the toes in and toes out. And then we'll press our hands into the earth and just really lift our hearts to the sky. So we get long out of the low spine, press the chest and heart upward. And take a couple breaths into that big, wide open heart space. Beautiful. So we're going to go ahead and we'll set ourselves up to even things out on that other side as we prepare to finish up soon in our practice. So we'll take the opposite leg forward. And again, come to roll over so that that hip is supported. It can be on a blanket, on a cushion, whatever works best for your body. Remember, drawing the heel in toward the body will make it a little bit easier if you're very tight. You want the knee and the hip in alignment. And then you have the option to slide that heel forward in alignment with the knee. And then the back leg, same thing. Heel is either in toward the body or you can gradually take it out. Hip and knee are in alignment. You're going to spin your hips forward so that you're squaring toward the front of your mat. And as you inhale, you're going to lift and lengthen. And as you exhale, you're going to bow down. So find that movement for a few breaths. Option to come into that full pigeon if that's part of your practice. And once again, you can use your props in any way that serves you, whether it's your blocks, whether it's your cushions, your bolsters. You can use these blocks as support. They help us to get deeper into our postures. It can even be really nice to take a block to support the head. And if you feel like part of your practice allows you to soften in, then soften the shoulders. Soften the face, the throat, the jaw. Continue to find those inhale breaths and direct them to the sensation in your bodies. And then let those exhales help you to soften a little more. And these postures are nurturing. They're nurturing because we bring our awareness inside. We spend so much time in the outer world and often seeking external validation. And really the only place that we need validation from is from within. So take your time for a few more breaths, please. Maybe one more gentle breath. And then as you feel ready, engage through your abdominals. Slowly begin to walk your fingertips back in towards your body. You can roll over onto that front hip gradually. Maybe extend those legs long once again. And just pause. Pause here to notice as we feel that kind of rebounding of energy running through our tissues down the length of our legs. And then it might feel good to tap the legs a little bit on the mat or take the feet kind of toes in, toes out a few times. We're going to come to finish up in a moment, but I'd like us to flip, come back into our tabletop, and find a little bit more length one last time. So I'd like you to take your right leg in behind you, lift it up to your hip height. Your core is strong. You're pressing your fingertips and your palms into the earth, and then walk that foot across the body over to the left side and just gently gaze back and feel that nice length on the right side of your waist. Let's take one more breath here. And then as you're ready, inhale that foot back. And I'd like you to go ahead and change. Go ahead and walk that left foot straight out. Engage through the abdominals. Press the toes in. Take your gaze back and feel that nice length in the left side of your waist now. Good. Inhale back to neutral. Now I'll invite you to take a moment to find any kind of movements before we come down to the earth to finish up that would feel good for your body. So if it feels good, any cat-cows, if you'd like to come back into a child's pose for a few breaths, feel free. Really great opportunity to check in and see how you're doing, how you're feeling right now. And then when you find yourself ready, you may wish to bring along a couple blocks. You may wish a bolster or a cushion for beneath you. You can support your body if you like, and maybe just go ahead and come to lie back, either flat or with a support. And you might want to bring the knees in toward the chest for a moment, kind of move a little bit from side to side. You can take the tops of the toes to the earth and just slowly come side to side, extending the arms out in a T or bending the elbows in a cactus position. And as the knees come from side to side, you might wish to pause and take a breath or two here. And the same thing on the other side, just letting those knees fall in the opposite direction. And then coming back to neutral. And if there are any final movements, recline, that feel good for your body now, feel free to find those, please. And we'll surrender back to extend on our mats, whether you're supported or unsupported by any props. And just let your body completely relax. You might wish to revisit that seed of intention that you planted at the beginning of the practice tonight. You might tune in to how your body is currently feeling. You might notice the state of the mind or your emotions, and merely just noticing them in the present and then coming back to your breath so that you can surrender. So I invite you to remain still for at least 3 to 5 minutes if you can. I'm going to close up the practice, but if you can, stay in stillness on your mat for a little longer. The integration part of the practice is so, so important. So thank you all for joining me here on this new moon practice. It was an honor to guide you, and thank you for including me in your practice time. Namaste.